You're listening to the Brian Donahue Podcast, a production of Trek and Jesus, and now a brand new part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. I'm going where few pastors have ever gone before, combining faith and fandom in fun and relevant ways that will challenge and encourage fans of all ages. Let's boldly go right now. And guys, it's Pastor Brian again, and you're listening to Season 2 of the Brian Donahue Podcast. Thanks for joining me today. I am super excited to bring you some really great news. This podcast is now an official part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, the same network that houses the Big Sci-Fi Podcast with Adina, Brian, Chris, and Steve. Super pumped that Bill and Dan reached out to me, the Trek Geeks, and said, hey, man, we'd love for you to bring your solo show on the network, too. They actually brought on 3 new shows onto the network, and they've already got some pretty fantastic shows. Besides their own kind of the leader of the podcast network, they're Trek Geeks, a Star Trek podcast. They also have the podcast, an incredible podcast, one I love and that you should definitely listen to, the Sci-Fi Sisters. They're incredible. They're really smart, really funny women who talk about sci-fi just like the Big Sci-Fi Podcast does. Let me see. I'm on their website right now, which, by the way, is trekgeeks.com, and they've got some great shows on here. And some of the new ones include the Crusher Convo podcast, which is terrific, Secret Friends Unite Code 47, and We Are Starfleet, the podcast. So check that out. They've got other podcasts on there as well. Just go to trekgeeks.com, and you can see all of their great shows. And here, you get so much Star Trek when you listen to the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. It's amazing. The best Star Trek podcast network out there, frankly. So shout out to Bill and Dan. Thank you, fellas, for bringing the Brian Donahue podcast onto the network. Can't wait to see what the future holds. And Season 2 is going to hold a lot more special guests. I hope to have some Star Trek folks on the show as well, who's actually been in Trek and been a part of producing Star Trek in some way, and I'm going to have a ton more fans on the show as well. Season 2 is probably going to be at least a few more episodes than Season 1 was, and it's going to be great. We're going to continue the segment, Why the Heck Is This Your Favorite Episode of Star Trek? So if you're a fan of this podcast and you're listening to these episodes and you're listening to other people talk about their favorite episodes, and you go, hey, I can do that. I've got a favorite episode or two. Private message me. Shoot me an email. It's in the podcast notes. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, even Blue Sky. And let's get a date set, and let's talk about your favorite episode of Star Trek. And if you're a person of faith, we can talk about that too a little bit too. That'll be fun. So, all right, guys. Well, that's the plug for the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Super pumped about that news and what it means for this podcast. I'll be back in just a moment. Well, guys, it's time for another season of the Brian Donahue Podcast, and I am so excited because of our new Trek Geeks connection. The Big Sci-Fi Podcast has already been a part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network for a while now, but I am totally pumped that they invited this podcast onto their network and to be a part of their family. Good things, big things are on the horizon. Hey guys, hit that like, share button, rate, and write a review for this podcast. It really goes a long way in helping more people listen to the Brian Donahue Podcast and hear this positive and encouraging message that I'm hoping to spread about Star Trek and Jesus. And talking about Jesus, man, I had an incredible experience on vacation the last couple weeks. Just got back from a 2-week camping trip. Hooked up the camper to my truck and took the family up to Maine and then back down to Boston. And we had a wonderful time. when we were actually doing the vacation-y stuff. But, man, we really felt like we were having some issues when it came to the traveling part of that vacation. For those of you that don't know, took the family 5 weeks last summer out west. We did a tour of some of our nation's greatest national parks. Didn't have a single mechanical issue with the truck or the camper. It was superb. It was marvelous. It was fantastic. It was relaxing. Stressful at times because, man, there are some crazy roads out west to drive on with a camper, don't you know? But no issues. This trip, this 2-week trip, was a little bit different. And why did I mention Jesus at the beginning of this story? Because felt like Jesus was looking out for us, actually, just a little bit. So we got everything prepared, everything ready. At a few times in our journey before we started, I actually imagined like the camper in the truck was the Enterprise in dry dock, like in the motion picture, you know. Beautiful, still looks beautiful to this day. And by the way, over at Trek and Jesus, I just recently asked the question, what is your favorite ship in the Trek universe of all time? So hop over to Trek and Jesus on Facebook, answer that question, let me know what your favorites are. And but I was kind of pretending, imagining in my mind, like, hey man, we're ready to go. This is going to be an epic journey to Maine. We're going to see Acadia National Park. It's going to be fantastic. We booked a whale watching trip, and we were just so pumped for this 2-week vacation. Well, we get to Pennsylvania. I live in Canton, Ohio. We get to somewhere in Pennsylvania, small town Pennsylvania, and something is not right with the truck. And pretty soon the engine light comes on. We happen to be right near an exit, and a pretty busy exit too, as a matter of fact. And so we pull the truck over, pull into one of those huge travel plazas, and then we realize there's an O'Reilly's auto parts store nearby. So we go there, have them hook up their doohickey to our computer on the truck so they can see what code was thrown by the engine light. Cylinder 6 misfire. New spark plug, new coil probably. And guys, I can change oil in a car. I can change the tires. I can even change the battery in a car. I can check for fluids and fill them up. That's about it. And so Sunday afternoon, we're like, oh man, should we just try to make it back home? By that time, we were maybe 3-4 hours down the road, if that. And like, is the trip over? Like, what do we, we're not going to get a mechanic on a Sunday. Surely, we might not even get him on Monday in that area. We don't know the area. And so we get a number, we call it. It's a roadside mechanic guy. He comes over within half an hour, replaces the spark plug, replaces the coil. We traveled down the road a couple more hours to get farther. We're like, okay, we're good. This is it. This trip, that was our doohickey. That was our doohickey. That was our mishap, right? So the next day we continue our travels. We stop in a town that has a minor league baseball team called the Rumble Ponies. My father-in-law named a horse after this baseball team. He saw them play our local Akron Rubber Ducks and really liked the name. So the next horse he got, he named it Rumble Pony. And my wife had this idea that she'd like to get him a T-shirt from the Rumble Ponies to commemorate this and have a little bit of fun and get her dad something nice. So we stopped in this town that has this this minor league baseball team, pull right beside the stadium. The gift shop is actually closed. They've had a string of several games in a row, several evenings, and they decided to let the gift shop person have the day off. And but the nice people there at the Rumble Ponies let my wife and kids come in and look around the store and actually purchase a T-shirt. Well, they did not open the bathrooms for them. And when you're driving with a camper and truck and a family, you try your darndest to make your gas stops, because sometimes finding a gas station that will actually fit your camper can be difficult and stressful, I might add. And so you try to make bathroom breaks whenever you stop. And so we did that. My wife went into the camper to use the bathroom and came back out, and I saw one key on the keychain drop, and I said, I don't see the camper key there. And she goes, oh my gosh. She goes in the camper, scours the camper with the flashlight, looking in all the corners and where she was in the camper, all that good stuff. We cannot find the key to our camper anywhere. Now, the door is unlocked, so that's no problem. The problem is we need that same key to get into all the side hatches, which has all the blocks, our power, our hose, our water hookup, everything else we need to camp successfully. And so we're like, how could it just disappear? Well, my son comes along with a flashlight and looks down a storm drain right on the curb in the street we were parked on, right below the door to our camper. And he says, I found it. And it was down in the bottom of that stinking storm drain. So now my wife we're getting along real good right now. Not really. We're arguing. I'm frustrated and grumpy. I'm like, how could you were swinging that key around? And so, I said a few things husbands probably shouldn't say to their wives. It was an honest mistake. Could have happened to me if it was reversed. And my wife calls the non-emergency police line. They send somebody out from the city. Very nice gentleman, fishes it out for us in no time at all, and says this happens more often than you realize in town here. So we say thank you very much, hop back in the truck, feeling very fortunate that our vacation can continue because we did not have a spare key for the camper. Note to self, get a spare key for the camper, Brian. We journey on. And holy cow, we're like, now we're really thanking Jesus, right? We're like, okay, Jesus, that was good. That's our second mishap. We're good to go. This is going to be smooth sailing. We haven't even gotten to our first destination. Our first set up the camper for real, hook into everything, relax, put the awning out, and have fun. We're not even there yet. All right, that worked out good. We enjoyed the hospitality of that little small town where the Rumble Ponies play. Got help. Felt good about it, right? Felt good about the human spirit, actually. The people at that baseball stadium could have just said we're closed and not bothered with us, but they didn't. They let us in to get a T-shirt. And that gentleman from the city was he came smiling. He made it feel like this was no big deal. It was really a great experience if you're going to have an experience like that. Next thing, we're trying to get under, we're journeying, and we see a sign that says 10-foot bridge ahead. And my wife goes, Brian, I think we're taller than that. I think we're 11 foot something. I'm like, nah, we're going to make it. We're good. Surely they'll have a way around the bridge for us at the last second or something like that, right? So we get to this bridge, and it doesn't come for a while. I mean, there's several miles of this winding road, I think in Vermont, where it just was like, when is this? I think we passed the bridge. I think somehow we got around it, or it wasn't on this exact road, something like that. Well, we get right up to the bridge, and I mean right up to the bridge, okay? And my wife says, don't you dare go under that until I can walk underneath it and eyeball it. And the road narrowed. There was no shoulder. I mean, we were blocking traffic. We were probably 5-6 cars behind us to start. And she goes, I don't think we're gonna fit. And I don't even get out of the truck, and I'm so confident. I'm like a young Captain Kirk in Star Trek 2009. Like, I know more than everybody else, right? We're gonna fit. It's no problem. Get back in the car. Let's go. We're holding up traffic. Well, just then, a truck passes us and says, I wouldn't do it if I were you. You're too tall. Don't do it. It'll ruin your trip. And so that was kind of like, my wife and I looked at each other, and we kind of smiled and said, okay. Now, thankfully, there was a driveway immediately behind the camper, right before the bridge, that was super duper wide and paved. Like, it was ridiculously wide. And part of it was probably because they needed it to be wide because it was hard to see either direction, cars coming. And so they needed some, I don't know, it just fortune favors the bold. I don't know. And luckily, I'm a boss at backing this camper. It's one of the weird gifts I have. I did not grow up driving campers or trailers or flatbeds, whatever. I just have a weird knack for backing this thing. So I look at it and I go, oh, I can back into that, no problem. Nail it the first time we turn around. People are very patient with us. We encountered very nice people on our whole trip. It was wonderful. The whole trip, we really encountered wonderful, friendly people out here in the Northeast of the United States. It was wonderful. Get back on our way. Get to our locations. We have good times, right? Well, now we're in Acadia National Park, and there is a weird warning screen coming up on the view screen of our truck, and it says something like preserving battery power, turning everything off. We're like, we've never seen this message before. Went on for a whole day, and we're like trying to make sure we don't have any weird lights that we're leaving on in the truck or everything's closed tight. But it keeps coming on, and we think we found the weird light and turned that up, made sure we closed that up and everything. But then that next morning we wake up and the battery is dead. The car will not start. My wife and I are just like, come on. Like a 2-week trip, we've had these 3, really almost 4 things happen. This is starting to feel like cause and effect from The Next Generation. Remember that episode where Beverly Crusher was the only one really experiencing the same events over and over and over again? It was just like, oh my gosh, we're in this time loop. We must be. I just got to figure a way out of it, right? Well, we get the battery. Someone jumps up from the campground again, really nice. There happened to be a Napa Auto Parts store. Shout out to Napa Auto Parts. Really friendly guys in that store, helped us out, gave me the tools I needed, because I didn't have the right tools to change a battery. Got that in and out, no problem, lickety-split. Just batteries are easy to change as long as they're not underneath a bunch of other stuff. We're like, okay, that was easy. At least that was easy. But guys, listen. We're $500 now because of that roadside assistance mechanic and this battery now. We're $500 more than we expected to spend on this trip. But at the same time, we're feeling blessed. We're like, holy cow, we're safe. Everybody's good. We're enjoying creation here at Acadia National Park. Like we're still good. Like we can do this. We're good. You know, it's unfortunate. It was inconvenient to have to go to Napa Auto Parts store, but luckily they were open on a Saturday to do that, right? And we caught them in time before they closed, all that good stuff. So we're trying to see the silver lining, right? We're seeing the sunny side of things, if you will, and still having a good time. We went on a whale watching trip, which I would be remiss if I did not say how fantastic that was, out of Bar Harbor. Of course, in Maine, they call it Bah Haba. It kind of take out the R's or relax them tremendously. Bah Haba. And it was tremendous. We saw 6 different humpback whales, which has been a dream of mine. And frankly, it's been a dream of mine because of, you guessed it, Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. Love that movie. My friends Adina and Chris count it as their all-time favorite Star Trek film, if you listen to the Big Sci-Fi podcast, and you should, by the way. It was remarkable. We were on this amazing boat, had a great time with my kids on it, and it was just superb. It was really wonderful. I kind of pretended like there was a Klingon ship in the water crashed and the humpback whales were coming very near, as they did to our boat. It was really wonderful. And the family had a great time. It was a beautiful day there, too. The boat ride was marvelous. Bar Harbor was fantastic as well. Maine is one of my new favorite states, by the way. It's really superb, really amazing, very friendly people. I would go back there 10 more times, frankly. And so we are now journeying again, and we start to feel something in the front driver's side brake and hear something, and there's a grinding, and we're like, oh, for crying out loud. And we can see on the disc something on the outside edge is grinding down the rotor, and we're like, geez. So we're calling people, getting advice. And this is more towards our way home. And sure enough, something is happening up there. I felt secure and safe. I felt like the truck was stopping. I didn't hear or feel anything else from any of the other tires. The trailer also has a brake system on it that's connected to the truck, so we just upped that a little bit to give us extra stopping power and force, and just was very careful coming home. And luckily we had mostly highways coming home, so I could coast. I could keep a good distance behind people. Truck never felt loose or anything like that. Always stopped when I needed it to. And we were given advice that we would be okay coming home because of everything else working right, and just to be cautious. And so let me tell you guys, this trip was amazing. It was awesome. Had a great time with the kids, with the wife, and it really felt like Jesus protected us, like God was there for us. We did and saw some amazing things, went on some amazing hikes, ate some good food. Boston was terrific. We stopped in Boston, saw the U.S. Constitution, the oldest still afloat warship in the world, and walked the Freedom Trail that Paul Revere rode to warn that area that the British were on the move, on the march, and a lot of history. Boston is a great city. It's one of my new favorite cities, actually. Indianapolis has always been a favorite of mine. Growing up, going there twice a year with my family to see Indiana Pacer games, and the Indy 500 every year. Seen about 15 maybe Indy 500s through the years, actually. And Indianapolis is a great city, but Boston is, it quickly became a new favorite of mine, actually. I would go back there again. A great food town, tremendous history. It's a beautiful city, and let me tell you, the people we ran into were just so, I know I've said this over, but our trip, our vacation was marked by friendly people. Really great, friendly people. Just felt good about humanity on this trip, frankly. All the chaos going on in the world around us, the unknown that is looming with things happening all over the world and even politically in our nation, as we are facing an upcoming election. Like, it's just tremendous to see nice people and to have faith restored, or to be reminded there are still a bunch of nice people who care about other people on this earth. And so, Boston, man, kudos. Well done. Appreciate your hospitality. Really well done. So I had a great time. Made it home safely. And again, I kind of imagined we had to back the camp. We got home around 10 o'clock, and I decided that I needed to back the camper into place correctly instead of just pulling in and then dealing with it in the morning. And, you know, I had in my head, of course, the wonderful music from the motion picture playing in that dry dock scene, pretending like I was backing the Enterprise into dry dock on the way home. While my wife was frustrated that I was taking the time to do this instead of just pulling in. But anyways, that's my story. And I want to share with you some lessons learned because of this vacation. Now, like I said, our vacation last year, our 5-week journey out west, 5 weeks, it was a trip of a lifetime. May never get to do that again. I don't know. But everything went smoothly. It was superb. Had very few hiccups. It just, everything, my wife planned it out so well. It was wonderful. And that's a lesson in itself. That good planning goes a long way. Good planning really helps, right? Being prepared for the future, having a game plan is very helpful. Some people can wing it and do all right. Some people can do really good with just winging it. But even then, you can only go so far just winging it. Eventually, you got to kind of buckle down, suck it up, and make a plan if you want to be successful in life, right? And we had a good plan for this trip, but we were caught off guard by the unexpected delays, the mechanical issues, right? And what are you going to do with that? How are you going to respond to that? And that's one thing I love about Star Trek is in almost every episode, not all, but almost every episode, there's a hiccup. There's something that goes wrong. There's a new enemy or a new disturbance or something weird happening that they're encountering. And, they would love to just go on and keep exploring, right? They would love to just continue with business as usual, having a fun time hanging out in the Alpha Quadrant, right? Or if you're Voyager in the Delta Quadrant, but we won't go there. And I tell you, we had some hiccups. We had some adversity, and we had our moments as a family for sure, where we were frustrated with each other, frustrated at these hiccups. But all in all, I'm pretty proud of the way we got through it, of how we adjusted, of how we made things work. And that's what you got to do in life, folks. Maybe right now you're facing a situation in your life that was totally unexpected. You're caught off guard. You're frustrated. You're irritated. Maybe you're heartbroken. Maybe you're really hurting because of how you're caught off guard, whatever circumstance is around that. And I just want to challenge you and encourage you today. Perspective is everything. And it's not that that every issue in life, because sometimes we can't plan around adversity very easily, right? It's hard to plan around cancer. The doctor can give you a game plan, can walk you through it basically, but there's always things that you have to look out for, things that will be unexpected, hard things that will surprise you along the way. But I just want to challenge you today, keep your focus on the right things. We were safe on our journey. We had some delays, but we were safe. Everything that happened, we remained safe. We were protected. We made good decisions in light of the adversity we found, of the surprises we came up with, the mechanical issues with the truck. We pulled off and were able to find a safe place to harbor our truck and camper until we received the help we need. We were all safe, and frankly, we were together as a family. We had plenty of food, water. We had plenty of resources around us in that town that if we needed to spend a few days there, we would have been just fine. It would have been irritating to not be along the journey to where we really wanted to go, but we would have been just fine, and we were together. My wife and I worked as a team when it came to that bridge. Well, we didn't agree right away with what course of action should happen. I'm glad I listened to my wife and that guy in the truck that drove by, because that would have ended our trip. We would have scraped off the air conditioner even more, and it would have been over. But we worked together as a team, and we were safe. And we had to go around, and it took longer to get to our next destination. But we were safe. We were together as a family. It was all good, right? The battery. We were around people that could help us. We were safe. We were together. It was fixable. We had to work it, but it was fixable. The break was a lot more stressful for a time, but again, we called the right people. We asked the right questions. We felt confident that we were safe and that we could make it home. It was still a big what if. We weren't sure for sure, but we were making decisions together as a team, my wife and I, and we were going to do this as a team. And we got home safe, and God protected us. Probably a bit of luck, a bit of God's protection along the way helped, but we worked the situation. And so I want to encourage you guys, work the situation. Pray about it. Think about it. Don't just allow anxiety to fill you and cause you to be totally unable to think rationally, to use your creative skills, to figure out ways to work through. You may not be able to stop the hurt or the trauma or the frustration, but you can figure out through the help of God, through rational thinking, through the help of friends and family. Do this together. Don't just be alone in whatever adversity you're facing. Bring other people into the mix to help you. Maybe their creative genius will help you figure out a way out of it or through it. And that's the challenge, really, is sometimes we can't just stop the trauma. We can't just stop the adversity. We have to work through it. And that mindset is really helpful, I found. But if we allow anxiety to rule us, to fill up our hearts and minds, man, it really renders all of those other things we need useless. It weakens all of our other faculties. And Philippians 4 really is one of my favorite chapters in all the Bible and verses, because it says, and the peace of God that transcends all understanding will guard your hearts and minds. Like that peace we can have through adversity, that peace we can have through trauma and tragedy and hurt and frustration and surprise in life. And so when you feel like you're at this place where if you're like us, I can't change the spark plug and replace a coil in my car's engine. We needed someone else to do that, but we at least were able to take a few breaths, figure out who to call, and get someone there who could help us. If we just allowed ourselves, and that was something I was struggling with at first. I was like, our trip is stinking over now. We might as well just call it quits. We're going to have to drive back home. There's no way we're getting a mechanic to work on this on a rainy Sunday afternoon. And we may not even be able to get a mechanic for the next day or two, because they've got their normal customers too, right? Like that they've got to satisfy. And I was letting that anxiety at first bubble up inside of me and build and boil and almost pour over. And if I had allowed that to happen, it would have been not good for my own mental health, for my kids' sake, my wife's sake. My wife and I needed to work that situation together. The spark plug in the coil wasn't just going to repair themselves magically, no matter how hard we prayed, right? That's not usually how God works when you talk about praying for miracles. Sometimes the answer is just replace the spark plug in the coil, man, But we worked the situation. We let our level heads prevail, even if there were moments, and there's always moments. You got to work through that and forgive yourself for that. But man, there's a way through. If you're going through something today, I want you to know there's a way through. And I believe that way through is by keeping our eyes on Jesus and letting our faith build up and having those still moments. The Bible talks about be still and know that I am God. I think that sometimes in chaotic situations, anxiety and fear really feeds on chaos and noise. But if you can get still, if you can practice quietness, if you can get yourself to get to that quiet place, even just for a few moments where you can breathe deeply, where you can calm your mind and, man, just press into your faith and your trust in God, like, man, that's when all the other good things you're gifted in, your creativity, your analysis, your ability to analyze situations, your ability to think through logically, man, that's when those things are allowed to thrive and build and grow and work effectively for you. So be still. If there's chaos, try to be still. Press into your faith. I'm Pastor Brian Donahue for Trek and Jesus, now a part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. So excited about that. I've got exciting guests coming up on the show this season, and I cannot wait for you to meet some new people, maybe hear from some of last season's guests, too, that I've invited back on. And you might be surprised at who pops on the show this season, too. Until next time, live long and prosper, boldly go into all the world, be kind, and watch more Star Trek.